Welcome back to another episode of Rock Boys Football. Brent Venables, the Oklahoma Sooners continue to work their way through spring practice, and we continue to hear a lot of positive buzz coming out of this program. And I'm just going to start with this. Look, we're following all these teams in spring practice, and you get positive buzz from every single team as they go through spring practice. For me, the Oklahoma buzz, it feels a little bit different. And you're probably wondering, hey, why is the Oklahoma positive buzz feeling different than a lot of other programs across the country? The reason is you're hearing the buzz at positions that we have the biggest question marks about going into 2025. You look at John Mateer, he's balling out in spring practice for Oklahoma. It's not all that surprising to a lot of us who follow this sport pretty closely. We knew John Mateer is one of the best quarterbacks in the country when he transferred to Oklahoma. We didn't have any question marks about how good John Mateer is. Our question marks were, hey, is the offensive line going to be good enough? Are the pass catchers going to be good enough? Well, as you work through spring practice, that is where we're hearing the positive buzz. And to me, that matters in terms of how I evaluate Oklahoma going into 2025. I said this way back in January. Hey, if you told me that Oklahoma's offensive line is going to be solid, I don't need it to be elite. I just need it to be better than it was in 2024. The way I look at Oklahoma in terms of how dangerous they can be in 2025 significantly changes. And what you're hearing out of spring practice is, hey, we're deeper, we're more talented than we were in the 2024 year. It sounds to me that this offensive line is going to be better than it was in 2024. Now the question is, all right, how much better will it be? Want to get into a few storylines, few players that we probably got to add to the notebook in terms of guys that could be, difference makers for Oklahoma in the 2025 year. Before we get into it, as always, to the Oklahoma fans, appreciate you guys. Y'all, you probably can see it. It's been really fun talking this program the last couple of weeks and months, and the amount of support y'all continue to show to the fellas has been amazing. Appreciate you guys. If y'all do enjoy the content, consider subscribing to the channel. Lot to talk about over the next couple of weeks and months for this Oklahoma football team. Without further ado, let's get into it. And I want to start with just kind of some general thoughts that I have around this Oklahoma team. And I'll start with this. The juice, the swagger of this Oklahoma offense feels night and day different from what it felt like 12 months ago with Jackson Arnold and Seth Luttrell. And if Oklahoma fans are asking, all right, how do I know it? I'll put my hand up saying, up here in Rochester, New York, I am not in the locker room of the Oklahoma Sooners, but I do listen to the press conferences. I do check out some of the content that comes out from that Oklahoma football Twitter page. Go listen to the mic'd up video with John Mateer and Ben Arbuckle running in one of those Oklahoma spring practices. Because I promise you, it didn't look like that, didn't feel like that 12 months ago with Seth Luttrell and Jackson Arnold. It just didn't. To me, the confidence, the energy around this Oklahoma offense, fundamentally different with John Mateer and Ben Arbuckle coming into this program. And I'll say this, John Mateer is getting most of the national media buzz. Like from what it hears, he is all of what we thought he was coming from Washington State. Because of that, nobody's talking about Ben Arbuckle. Like to me personally, Ben Arbuckle is one of the best pure offensive coordinators that you see in the entire country. And nobody's really talking about it. That's a massive upgrade from going from Seth Luttrell to Ben Arbuckle. The juice and swagger's there. And then I think secondly, the leadership. You listen to some of these press conferences, everybody says the same thing, and that is John Mateer is elevating everybody around him. He is the general of the offense. I think about some of the situations you might be in the 2025 year, down 3, fourth quarter, on the road. Who is the offense looking to before they take the football field? Like last year, Seth Luttrell, Jackson Arnold, that's not a group that put out a lot of confidence. And now it's John Mateer. You got a real leader of this Oklahoma offense. And to me, I think that matters. And so just the general energy that's coming out of this Oklahoma offense, specifically from John Mateer and Ben Arbuckle, different than what it felt like 12 months ago for Oklahoma with Jackson Arnold and Seth Luttrell. Now, getting into some specific storylines, you have to start with this offensive line. It sounds like it's going to be not only deeper, but it's going to be better. I mean, go back 12 months ago, Michael Tarquin, Spencer Brown, like guys that we They were both 6-year seniors, I believe. We knew what they were. We knew they weren't going to be good enough to play in the SEC. Now, all of a sudden, I think the two storylines for me is that Jacob Sexton, Jake Taylor. No, I know a lot of Oklahoma fans are like, hey, well, we've seen a little bit of them. What I'd say here is be careful to just give up on them. They're running with the ones. Jacob Sexton out at the left side, Jake Taylor out of the right side. We covered these kids since they committed to Oklahoma out of high school. They're two very, very talented football players that have both dealt with a laundry list of injuries over their first couple of years. From what it sounds like, I mean, this is the healthiest those two have been as football players during their time at Oklahoma. Now, it's one thing to be healthy in the spring. It's another thing to stay healthy going into 2025. But to me, that's intriguing. I think the second thing you want to talk about is Derek Simmons, and I'll put my hand up. I did not think Derek Simmons was an SEC caliber tackle when he transferred from Western Carolina to Oklahoma. It sounds like he's much better than guys like Tarquin and Spencer Brown last year. That is also very intriguing. You're hearing all the right things from a guy like Michael Fasusi as well. All of a sudden you look at it and say, hey, I ain't got no question marks about the interior of the offensive line. It sounds like Eddie Pierre-Louis might be the best offensive lineman on this football team. We know what Fabechi is. We know what Troy Everett is. The interior offensive line is going to be solid. And you're starting to hear some good things about the tackles. That should excite a lot of Oklahoma fans. And again, are we looking for Oklahoma to be the best offensive line in the country in the 2025 year? No, we're not. But can it just not be a liability like it was in the 2024 year? And if you get that fundamentally changes not only how I look at Oklahoma, but I think about a lot of the Oklahoma fans probably agree with this. Like, hey, you tell me we're going to have a solid offensive line. My expectations for Oklahoma looking a little bit different than they felt like in February. Number two, the new pass catchers continue to impress. And I think another storyline, Deion Burks finally kind of healthy on the practice field. Look, we know what a healthy Deion Burks looks like. To me, it's important because you got a new quarterback. You're building that chemistry between John Mateer and Deion Burks. That is a quarterback wide receiver duo that can be one of the best, if not the best, in the country 2025. Deion Burks getting back healthy, that's big. Giovanni Gibson, and I think the question, guys like Giovanni Gibson, Isaiah Satang, all right, it's one thing to impress early in spring practice, make a few flashy plays. It's a whole nother thing to stack really consistent, impressive practices. Every time you read the spring practice notes, you're hearing good things from really good things from Giovanni Gibson. You're also hearing really good things from Isaiah Satang as well. All of a sudden, you're looking at and say, all right, the offensive line seems to be in a better spot than it was 12 months ago. We were concerned about how many difference makers we had in the pass catcher room. Well, Deion Burks is a known commodity, but we're hearing really good things from Giovanni Gibson, Isaiah Satang. The two biggest question marks that we had for this Oklahoma team, I'm not saying they're fully answered going into 2025, but you're hearing all the right things you want to hear. Now, going to the defensive side of the football, I think the thing that continues to stand out is just the ceiling of this defensive line. This is a talking point we've had for a while. Again, look at, we're talking best teams in the country, national championship caliber teams, Ohio State last year, Michigan, Georgia 2021, Georgia 2022. What do those programs were different programs. They won in different ways. But what did they all have in common? They all had elite defensive lines. They not only had elite defensive lines with guys that were, top 50 NFL draft picks, but they were deep too. I look at Oklahoma and say that is the vibe that I'm getting from this Oklahoma unit. Our Mason Thomas, he could have gone to the NFL draft. Jaden Jackson was about as impressive of a true freshman as we saw. We know what Dominic Williams is. The story is David Stone just sounding like he's going to take that year two jump and play like a five-star player. PJ Adebari looks like a freaking monster. We're excited about what Daniel Okoye can do. We're excited about Marvin Jones Jr., who sneaky played very well towards the end of his year in Florida State. This defensive line, it's deep. It's really talented. We know it's going to be a good unit. Now the question is, how good can it be? Can it be one of the best defensive lines in the country? Because that is certainly a possibility as we sit here in the middle or maybe end of March, you might say. Number 4. I feel like the depth's emerging in the secondary. It's a unit that is a little bit banged up. It's young at spots, but you're hearing great things from Reggie Powers, who's working a little bit at Cheetah. You're hearing really good things from a guy like Michael Boganowski, excuse me. He was a guy that he is about as physical as it gets from that safety spot. Jacoby Johnson, Robert Spears-Jennings, and Kendall Dolby looks like he's coming back healthy from last year. And then at linebacker, I think one of the more intriguing questions that Brent Venables, as the defensive coordinator, is going to have to figure out is how do you get Kobe McKenzie, Kip Lewis, and Kendall Daniels all on the football field at the same time? Because it sounds like those are three of your top 11 players on the defensive side of the football. And what's so unique about it is you look at Kendall Daniels, dude can do just about anything you want. You want to play off-ball linebacker, he can do that. You want to play the cheetah, he can do that. Played a lot of safety at Oklahoma State before kind of spinning down as a linebacker. Could probably rush off the edge to you as well. I mean, it's a good problem to have. It's especially a good problem to have with Kendall Daniels, who sounds to be very impressive in spring camp or spring practice, and also a guy that can do a lot of different things for you on defense. Look, I'm trying not to get on the hype train, but it's getting awfully hard not to, because there's a lot of really exciting storylines for Oklahoma that's kind of playing out in spring ball. We'll close it down there. Appreciate you guys rocking with it. If y'all do enjoy the content, consider subscribing to the channel, and we'll talk to y'all later. Peace.